Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how Mark's BMW R1300GS broke down in Portugal and what it was like dealing with BMW roadside assistance in trying to get the bike repaired or home and trying to get Mark home. I don't normally ask people to subscribe or share my videos, but on this occasion I am asking you to do that. And the reason for that is BMW made some pretty big failings here which could easily be improved. And also the video serves as a warning to those of us who take our bikes abroad and tells us what to expect of these sort of breakdown services and how to avoid the sorts of problems that we had. Okay, so hello Mark. Tell us about your bike and how old it is, etc.
So I picked it up at the end of July. It's brand new. It had 700 miles when we went on holiday, and I had a couple of additional things put on the bike. One was a tracker which BMW Ardens at Tunbridge Wells organised and had done for me, and the other was a plug and play, a Visa plug and play, and that's to give me a proper brake light, and it actually improves the sequencing of the indicators, and it's quite a common addition, but I think it's a necessarily safe addition. So the bike was pretty stock and standard, lovely bike, absolutely loved it. And on the way down to Portsmouth Harbour to catch the ferry, we got absolutely soaked. It absolutely poured down. Going through Guildford, it rained so hard the drainage system couldn't cope in Guildford town centre. So the manhole covers, which are pretty heavy, were being lifted by about 6 inches. I've never seen that before. So we arrived in Portsmouth pretty wet, but the bike coped with it, no problem.
I suppose one of the things to note at this point is that when we were driving through Guildford, we were only going very slowly during this very heavy rain, weren't we?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, something like 15 to 20 mile an hour because nothing was moving quickly. You couldn't.
Yeah, and by the time we sped up, rain had stopped.
Yes.
So then, moving through on holiday when we get down to Spain?
So yeah, I mean, we just ambled our way down through Spain into Portugal, enjoying lots of twisties, enjoying the scenery. Bike was really well behaved, few days of rain, but mostly nice weather. It was 2 weeks into our 3-week holiday. Things were going really well. The bike was great. Yeah, and then we had a trip to a town called Mirandela, which was en route into Spain. So we'd finished the Portuguese leg of the holiday, going into Spain, heading towards Salamanca. And we got as far as Mirandela, which was our planned stop, got into the hotel, parked the bike in the underground car park, and that was the last time the bike worked.
And on the way over to Mirandela, I mean, we had pretty heavy rain, didn't we?
Yeah, we were on almost an auto route, so it was a pretty fast road. There wasn't a lot of traffic, but it hosed it down.
So realistically speaking, this is the first time the bike has suffered a proper rainstorm?
At speed, yes.
And so you park your bike in the garage?
Yep.
Leave it overnight?
Yep. I do the normal things, the normal sequence. You know, you put the side stand down, you lock the steering and take the luggage off and go and recover.
And so talk us through the actual breakdown itself. What happened the next morning?
So next morning, up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, put all my luggage, and I've got an awful lot of luggage, strapped it all to the bike. Then I went to take the bike out of the car park and absolutely nothing. The key wasn't even being recognised by the bike. On a BM, you've got a little red indicator light which shows when it detects the near presence of the key. It didn't do that. Then we tried to start using the auxiliary starting position, which is underneath the rider's seat, placing the key in a certain position. That didn't work. Tried that with a spare key, that didn't work. We then disconnected the battery and reconnected it, so it was like a reboot. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The bike was dead, and to make matters worse, you couldn't even push it out the car park because the steering lock was on, and you can only get the steering lock off once the key has been recognised and it allows you to take it off. So I'm stuck in a underground car park in Portugal. This was Saturday the 21st of September, and at exactly 11 minutes past 10 I rang BMW roadside assistance.
Okay, so it's 11 minutes past 10 on a Saturday. You've rung BMW roadside assist. How was it?
So I spoke to some chap at the end of the line who wanted to know where I was. He couldn't find Mirandela on the map. Anyway, after 10 minutes of sending what 3 words and all sorts, he finally located our presence and kicked into place to initiate a breakdown visit, not necessarily a recovery, because at this point they're thinking that perhaps it's something that their roadside assistance can help with and get the bike going. So we waited, numerous phone calls backwards and forwards between me and the international assistance now that I was transferred to back in Croydon in England, and kept on saying the breakdown people were on their way. It took something like 3 hours for them to turn up. They turned up on a flatbed. They had absolutely nothing with them, except a pair of jump leads suitable for a car or a truck. And this guy had a look around the bike. Obviously there's a language difficulty. He doesn't speak English, I don't speak Portuguese, but with sign language you get most things understood. We went through the routine of how to start the bike, and he could see that it didn't start. Battery was good, there was no problem with that at all, and the battery in the key fob was working fine, because when you pressed it you could see it was working. It was just the bike wasn't acknowledging the presence of the key or reacting to it. So he agreed. He said he couldn't do anything, and you know, international sign language is pretty obvious. Because the breakdown recovery guy couldn't do anything with my bike, he needed to go back to his office, and I needed to contact BMW International Assistance, tell them that he couldn't recover, and that would give them the opportunity to call Portugal and get Portugal to recover it. They needed the instruction from BMW to remove the bike into storage. So he went off again. I've called BMW International Assistance. I've explained the situation, that their roadside presence couldn't help and that it needed to be taken into safe storage and taken to a dealer that could cope with it. So they were going to ring me back once they'd spoken to their Portuguese agent. Now the Portuguese agent angle was actually quite important, because at all stages dealing with BMW International Assistance, the people I spoke to were helpful, they were supportive. At no time did I feel as if they weren't interested, but it became clear really quite quickly that they had problems getting any sort of reaction out of anyone in Portugal on a weekend. Subsequently we find that it's not just weekends where this is a problem. So that's essentially the next step. I rang them. The guy said that he would speak to the Portuguese agent, he would arrange that, and he would start to look for a hire car for me. So about 2:30, the international assistance guy rang to say that the breakdown recovery would come back and they would take the bike away and put it into safe storage, and I would be taken by taxi to Porto, where the only hire car in the whole of Portugal on Saturday the 21st of September was sitting. So long story short, by 3:30 they are back. The same flatbed truck, the same breakdown mechanic, this time aided by 2 friends, one of which is clearly a bodybuilder, and they ended up manhandling the bike onto the flatbed. They've tethered it down using ratchet straps, initially using the wire wheel as a brace, a front spoke as a brace, which I say, you know, you don't need to speak the language to be understood, and so I made a bit of a noise about that, and then they redid it properly so it didn't go across the spoke. And at 3:30 on Saturday the 21st, I waved my motorcycle goodbye as the cab which the BMW International Assistance had arranged for me.
So tell us about the hire car. What was going on with that?
So, okay, apparently the Portuguese office only deal with Hertz. So when I said it's the only hire car available, it was the only hire car that Hertz could offer. And it was a very small Mitsubishi stick shift thing, but it was in Porto. So I had to get to Porto. They arranged the taxi. The taxi was something else, I cannot tell you. When it turned up, I thought, great, it's a Skoda. Great, it's a woman driver. Tick, tick. Oh my God, no. I got in it and my phone was almost out. I was expecting a call from the international assistance because they said they would check once I was on my way, and I had almost no juice. So I tried to charge my phone in her car. There was no B or C charger. There was an old cigarette style lighter charger, which I didn't have an adapter for. And the whole thing was falling to bits. I've never seen a Skoda in such a... I mean, we've got a Skoda. Skodas are good. This thing was a heap of crap. She had the phone holder on the windscreen. On the dash. But it was moving like crazy. And she was driving along. She had her arm over the steering wheel, clasping the phone holder. So steering with the arm, and then she was trying to interact with her phone. She was trying to call someone. She was going down lists and lists of names. And then because the car was rubbish, it was jerking all over the place. She was hitting the wrong name. Anyway, we got on the motorway and we had to go 150 kilometers. We were on the motorway and she's still doing this. I am not the most unnervous passenger in the world, and I was just freaking out. And to compound issues, I've told her I'm not happy. I said muy rápido, which is Spanish, not Portuguese. She got the message. She looked at me as if I was from another planet, and she pulled over on the hard shoulder. But we're not neatly in the hard shoulder. We've got our arse in the slow lane. A lorry comes along, toots it because he's had to swerve to avoid. I mean, Jesus H. 150 kilometres with this nutter, and I get to Vigo Airport. I am shot to bits.
Porto Airport.
Porto Airport.
So you get to Porto Airport, and clearly now you have the hire car, so we can go off to Salamanca, can't we? No. Why?
Because I filled in the forms. The guy at Hertz desk spoke really good English. I can't take that car out of Portugal. But I need to get to Spain. No. And that's the only car. So I take the car. We managed to find some accommodation off of Porto's version of Spaghetti Junction. The car, even that rubbish car, I think was a nickable option in the area we were in. Anyway, so we ended up Saturday night. I was absolutely out of it. I did have a drink that evening because it's been a nightmare. My gorgeous 25 grand motorcycle, which I absolutely adore, died. They put me in a car which was worth threepence, and a driver who had a death wish and sent me 150 kilometres in the other direction and then wouldn't let me get out the country. I mean, honestly, BMW International Assistance, you need a new Portuguese agent because they are shit.
So we're stuck in Portugal. It's now Saturday night, Sunday morning. What happens next?
First thing in the morning, I call BMW International Assistance to see what's happening with, have they got a plan? Have they identified a BMW Motorrad dealer in Portugal that can take my bike? The answer back is they'll check, but they think Portugal is closed because it's now Sunday. And that conversation is repeated between me and international assistance for the next 2 days. So we're going to go into Monday with still great uncertainty. They speculate on the Monday that they might have to move it towards Porto, which is good because that's where we are and that's where a couple of Motorrad dealers are. They might have to move it, but because it's 150 kilometres, it's too far for one journey. They would have to do it in relays. And because it was like about 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, they didn't think they could get anything arranged until Tuesday or Wednesday. Now here's the problem. Our ferry leaves from Bilbao on Thursday early evening. So I have got to get there with or without my bike. If it's without my bike, we need to be heading towards Spain PDQ, but with a car that will let me get into Spain. If they can repair my bike by midday Wednesday, I've got time to ride it to Bilbao.
Okay, so Monday we moved to be a bit nearer a BMW dealer.
We were hedging our bets. We could see where the Motorrad dealers were, and north of Porto there was a Motorrad dealer which was in the direction of Spain. It was the closest dealer to where we had broken down. So we hedged our bets. If they were able to get the bike into a dealer, it would be that one, and we would be in the right direction. We would be heading towards Spain, although northern Spain and not northeastern Spain where we needed to be, but it was still an improvement. So we left the Porto hotel after 2 nights and moved up towards this BMW Motorrad dealer.
On Monday, did the bike move?
No.
And on Tuesday morning, what happened?
The bike still didn't move.
Okay, and so you had a discussion with BMW?
So I rang quite early on Tuesday. I rang international assistance and I spoke to an amazing woman called Hayley. She was an angel. She starts work about 7. By 7:15 she had read our file and sent an email to the Portuguese agent, sort of more or less demanding they get a hurry up on this because there was a time issue. She understood it. She understood perfectly well where we had to be by Thursday early evening. She had very little help from Portugal, from the agent. We then speculated that the chances of them being able to move the bike and repair it by Wednesday midday were so remote because the bike still hadn't moved. You know, we're nearly 4 days into it and it hasn't moved. What are they likely to do in a day and a bit? Not a lot. And she made the very good decision to repatriate us separately. The bike would come home via a special courier agent that they have, and I would come home via taxi, rent car, hire car rather. And so what we asked her, would Hertz allow us to take the Mitsubishi hire car into Bilbao? And she posed that question because I saw the email. She posed that question at 9:15 that morning. It took Portugal 3 hours to say no and to agree that we could take it to the northernmost Hertz dealer we could find. So we were right on the border with Spain. It took 3 hours and it had to be referred down to Hertz in Lisbon, the head office, for a decision that should take anyone moments.
So you finally get that decision. You've now got a plan of action and you're going to be dealing with the Spanish office, who no doubt are going to be awful as well.
No, they were so much better. See, in the time it took for Hayley to call me to tell me that Hertz Lisbon had agreed for this dropping off point, she had arranged with Enterprise in Spain. She had organised a C-Class Mercedes for me. Everything's at Vigo Airport. She's arranged the onward collection from Portsmouth Enterprise office for a hire car back home, Ashford in Kent. All that had happened in moments. She had got all that. It was the Portuguese agents. The Portuguese leg of this has been awful. The Spanish and British parts of it, not awful at all. So I've got to get from a place in northern Portugal on the border with Spain all the way to Vigo Airport in Spain. It's a journey of about 35 minutes. It has to be done by taxi because it's late on in the day and there is an hour time difference between Portugal and Spain. Portugal, GMT, Spain, CET. So we have to get a move on. And Hayley said, get yourself a cab, get a receipt and we'll pay for it. So I got a cab, took us to Vigo Airport, asked for a receipt, doesn't have a receipt. And the reason I mention that is that I took 3 taxi journeys on my journey home, and none of the three could issue me with a receipt, and BMW International Assistance are saying they won't pay for it. But that's another argument, because I think they're going to in the end.
So, and as a general thing, the rest of the return home, was it good or bad?
So the C-Class was lovely. I love Spain anyway, but my bike is stranded. I'm getting further and further away from my bike, and they're ringing me, they're giving me updates, they're telling me, well, we can't do anything yet, we haven't yet identified a Motorrad dealer, we're trying, we're going to repatriate it for you. Yeah, I think so. So the call Hayley made was absolutely the right one, and eventually I think everyone came to that mind. But they sent me a repatriation form which required to be downloaded, signed, scanned and sent back. Now, I'm on a tour. I'm now in a car with all my motorcycle gear and paraphernalia. I don't have access to a scanner or my computer. And so it had to wait till we got home to initiate that repatriation form. I think they could have done things a lot earlier.
And when you got back into England, you were meant to have a hire car there. How about that bit?
So Enterprise UK have got an agreement with BMW Assistance that they provide BMW products. And this was understood. BMW didn't tell me this, Enterprise did, and BMW have confirmed it. And I could drive a stick or a automatic, it doesn't matter. They were going to pick me up from the hotel Saturday morning, take me to Enterprise Portsmouth offices, and we were going to do all the signing, and I'd drive home, and I'd have 7 days hire, and I would take the car to the Ashford Centre when I was finished. They turned up with the car, and it was a Ford Puma, and the parcel shelf was broken, and I've got expensive motorcycle gear, and stopping on motorways for a coffee on the way back, I did not want my gear exposed. So I refused that car. They had another car in the car park at the time. This is at the hotel car park. It was a Qashqai, and its parcel shelf did work. So I took that. But it shouldn't have been either car. It should have been a BMW car. But, you know, I'm making my way back, and I eventually get home on the 28th of September at 12:30, almost exactly 1 week after my bike died.
So you get home, now you can actually put in the repatriation forms.
By 4 p.m. that evening, that form had gone off.
Okay, so now we're at the point where you're going to have your bike repatriated. What facilities do you have to actually monitor the bike?
I have got a Scorpion tracker, and obviously I've got the app on my phone, so I'm able to see where it is, and I was able to see that it hadn't moved, and it was still stuck in the garage at Mirandela in Portugal where they had taken it. But that isn't the only way I have of tracking it. I've got an AirTag, and the AirTag worked all the time, whereas the Scorpion tracker has an internal battery, and eventually that sort of just died, and they're going to send a command to restart it once I'm going to pick the bike up. But the AirTag worked the whole time, and if you think just how inexpensive they are brilliant. So I was able to see exactly where it was at all times.
And this has been a really good actual recommendation for those AirTags. I mean, so I've fitted the AirTag to the bikes, and they're just an AirTag with the speaker removed and then fitted in a little waterproof container somewhere inside the bike where people won't be able to find it, and they work brilliantly, and they're very difficult to find, but they give you a clear description about where the bike is most of the time. It's not up to the minute, but you get a good idea, don't you?
Yeah, and if you think that when people nick bikes, they'll park them somewhere, or anything with a tracker or a possible tracker, they'll park it up and see if anyone comes to collect it. And if they haven't, they know after a period of time that tracker's going to turn itself off. AirTag don't.
So your repatriation starts when?
When I put the repatriation forms in, there was a note to say, if you haven't heard from us in 4 days, check we've received it. So that's what I did. I checked early. I checked on I think it was on the Tuesday. They had received it, and they were in the process of organising its repatriation. Got a call later on the Tuesday to say they were going to go and pick it up on the Friday, I think it was, but certainly over the week, that next weekend, and they would deliver it to Ardens early the following week, so the Monday, Tuesday. That was the plan. That's apparently what the repatriation agent who BMW International Assistance used. That's what they were telling BMW International Assistant. It turns out that they weren't being completely frank with BMW. So having spoken to them at length and being able to tell them precisely where the bike was, on a given afternoon or evening or morning, there was a variance with what they were being told by the repatriation agent.
So come Friday, does the bike move?
No.
No. And what did BMW say?
So they say they've arranged, so now it's going to be picked up on Saturday and delivered still on the Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
And on Saturday, guess what? It hadn't moved.
Okay.
So I've called them again, and they've said, well, because it's the weekend and it's Portugal, they're going to pick it up Monday, and they still think they're going to get it to BMW on Tuesday. So I'm thinking they're going to fly it home. They have to.
And so on Monday, did the bike move?
Yes.
That's good.
But yes, sort of good. Okay, so it's moved on the Monday. It's moving up to Chaves, which is on the Portuguese-Spanish border in the north. And I was really hopeful it was going to then come on into Spain and head towards the UK, but it didn't. It turned south. It headed due south. And it was halfway down Portugal. So I complained. I sent a letter of complaint to BMW customer complaints, and I rang the BMW International Assistance and complained. I got an email from someone from International Assistance, Allianz is their arm, and they said that the bike has been picked up, which I knew, and it was due to be come back into the UK on the 22nd of October, which is ridiculous when, I mean, that's weeks away. Anyway, so I've had a real sense of humour failure, and I can see what's happening with the bike. It's now appearing near Cadiz, which is, if anyone knows, it's on the south-west coast of Spain. It's a major seaport, so I thought maybe they're going to ship it out of there, and because it's going to go on a container, it's going to take ages. Maybe that's why they're now telling me the 22nd. But no, it didn't stop in Cadiz. It headed off towards Granada, got to Granada, and then stayed there for 30 hours.
And during this time, are you getting much in the way of updates about what's meant to be happening with the bike, where it's meant to be going, or anything like that? I'm
now getting occasional communication, because, to be honest, I'm so peed off with it all. I'm getting more information from my AirTag than I am from the BMW's International Assistance. I can't blame them, I really can't. They are being given the runaround by their repatriation agent, and it's only become obvious when I am comparing where the bike actually is with where they're being told it is. And as I say, there's a variance, a big variance.
But it is at least on the move. And how long does it take to get back eventually?
It arrived back to the dealer about 2 hours ago.
And we are on Sunday
13th of October.
Okay, so it broke down on the 21st of September.
3 weeks and a day ago.
And it's finally at a dealer. And we don't know, though, what's wrong with the bike yet? No idea at all?
No, I mean, there is a suspicion that because of the really torrential rain we had, that some wires were exposed. If the tracker had been put in wrongly, a wire exposed. Has a bit of circuitry been frizzled? I don't know, but it's going to take them a little while to find out. And I want them to take their time to find out, because I don't want a bike that's going to stop in the rain. No.
So you finally got the bike back in England, at least, now at a dealer. Have you complained to BMW about this?
Yes, I put a complaint in. It would have been probably a week and a half. I put a complaint in to BMW customer complaints, and I just wanted them to expedite the repatriation of my bike, and I explained when I broke down, how I broke down, what had happened in my travails, the journey back, and the fact that it's now taking so very long. And I got an email back to say that they couldn't deal with this because it wasn't a complaint on a service they offer, and they've referred me to the roadside assistance complaints department.
It's marketed as BMW roadside assist.
Yeah, I mean, to my mind, you go on the website, which we all do a lot, and you see it's a big banner. It's one of the selling points. BMW are a premium motorcycle maker. They design and make great bikes, but they're expensive. So one of the allures is you've got this roadside assistance, and it's valid so many places. You expect, if there's a problem with that BMW customers, I'm one of them, got a complaint, put it into BMW customer complaints. To me, it's logical. I think they're trying to do a nifty little sidestep, and I do not appreciate it.
Yeah, basically it's BMW. It's BMW have made that arrangement. They should take the responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm now going to formulate a more detailed letter of complaint to the roadside assistance, because the bike has now been repatriated. The repair of it, that's another story, but I now have the start and the finish of the repatriation, and I need to send this complaint to where I've been directed to, and we'll see what comes of it. If I don't get any joy, I'm afraid BMW customer complaints, you're getting it back.
Okay, and so that's as far as we got so far. As a sort of overview, if you were someone about to take their bike abroad, and realistically speaking, whether it's a BMW or not, what would your kind of like key takeaways be from this?
Okay, make sure that you've got repatriation in your cover, because without it, you're stuck. Even if it takes 3 weeks, you've got it, and that's so important. What I would say is have a look closely at how they're going to repatriate you, because I think that BMW could do more with regard to the cost of hotel accommodation, the way they won't pay for a taxi unless you've got a receipt. Although they've agreed you have to get the taxi, they've agreed you should do the taxi, you should get it, organise it. So it's important that you look at how they're going to repatriate you. Look at how much they're going to give you for hotel accommodation, meals, that sort of thing. Make sure you're covered.
And I suppose the other thing is, as well, is if you're crossing borders as part of your holiday, make sure they're actually taking that into account and are following you down that route.
Yeah, I forget the precise wording, but I will paraphrase. We will help you continue your journey, is what the BMW International Assistance, Roadside Assistance, is all about. Well, they actually didn't. They actually rerouted considerably, and they gave a complete different itinerary to the one planned. And that would only make logical sense if they had someone that could have repaired it near to where they sent me. The fact that they deal with Portuguese agents all the time, they must know how poor their agents are. So yeah, try and insist that you're going in a direction you want to go in, because if you've got hotel accommodation booked, you end up losing, your deposits on these things, and they won't pay you.
Okay, good. So thank you very much, Mark. That's it.
I was going to say it's my pleasure. It's been far from.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it useful and informative. We will be doing another part in this video where we talk about exactly what went wrong with the bike once we know, and how long it takes to repair, etc. And also following up on the complaint into BMW and the roadside assist team. As said at the start, if you can share this video, it would be great, because I think BMW need to be aware of how badly their service goes wrong, and that it just isn't acceptable. Not only that, but if you've got friends that are actually going to go abroad, understanding the risks that you face with repatriating a bike if something goes wrong, and potentially how to deal with that, is really important too. Once again, thanks for watching.
Who jammer flip?
Who jammer flip?